Hello and welcome to the BloodStream podcast, a show serving the greater bleeding disorders community, brought to you by Believe Limited and BloodStream Media and made possible thanks to our presenting sponsor, Takeda. I'm your patient advocate and host, Patrick James Lynch.
And I'm your healthcare advocate, nonprofit nerd, and your other host, Amy Board, reminding you to please speak with a healthcare professional before making any treatment decisions.
On today's episode, we have an interview with longtime community member, Hemophilia Association of New York board member, and published author Ed Rogoff to talk to him about his new book, Scary Diagnosis. We also have follow-up from I just the title alone is enough to get Amy to get her going.
Good call. And we
got more than that. Yeah, there's also a follow-up from our spontaneous tattoo segment. There'll be more on bleeder tattoos coming up. And we're going to talk about surgery because I just had some. We got all of that and more on today's episode. Welcome to BloodStream.
What I was going to say is one of us had surgery and it was going to be like a thing.
Oh, shoot.
Anyway, listeners, as always, thank you for listening and all of the things. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to the BloodStream podcast wherever you get those podcasts.
And dear listeners, I also want to remind you that the BloodStream podcast is indeed made possible thanks to our presenting sponsor, Takeda. Yes, that's right, Takeda. Takeda's got this website, bleedingdisorders.com, where you can learn all about Takeda's resources for and commitment to the bleeding disorders community. Takeda, Amy, get this, believes in a world free of bleeds. And they are dedicated more than ever in their efforts to offer a wide range of programs and support to help patients throughout their treatment journey, wherever on that journey they may be. And you, yes, you can learn more by simply visiting bleedingdisorders.com. Oh, can you imagine? One more time, bleedingdisorders.com. And for their founding and ongoing support of the BloodStream podcast, I would just like to say thanks, Takeda.
Thank you, Takeda. Before we jump into it, I just want to say that I'm at home. The podcast studio is being completely redone. Dun, dun, dun.
It's true. Both things are true. It's being redone. Amy's at home. I'm at home. We're at home. How does it feel to be recording from home? You rarely ever are recording from home.
Well, it was a bit of a drama, if you will, because I thought I had all of my recording stuff at home from COVID, and Keith and I, our producer Keith, we were super cocky about it. We were like, yeah, we'll just record at home. It's no big deal. And then today I went to go look for it and it's nowhere to be found. So I'm like, well, guess I'm recording with AirPods. just old school. So if I sound rude, that's why, you guys. Just be cool about it.
And then we'll be in that new studio very soon. Sunday's moving day, which is wild.
I know. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know anything of the schedule. I have decided to not pay attention to that.
Oh, good. Yeah. So we're going to a new location. That part's important. So you have to go to a new location when you go to work now. Has anyone
filled you in? It's just upstairs. We're moving upstairs. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like, one day I'm just going to show up downstairs and be like, oh, I guess it's upstairs day.
From now on. Okay. If that's how you're going to do it, you have to pack some things up. You got to get boxes and things. There's some steps to take.
That's what they tell me. That's what they tell me.
It's probably riveting radio right here for people listening to us discuss what happens when you move. There's packing tape.
Sorry, everybody. You're at home as well. Patrick, you have way cooler news than me not caring about our move.
Cooler news is a generous way to frame this, Amy, and I will say thank you for that. I don't know how much cooler it is. I do have right behind me, for those watching on the video, these nice certified crutches recently acquired from the UCLA Medical Center in Santa Monica, California.
We love a crutches moment.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I had right ankle surgery on Friday, so I'm 4 days out at the time we're recording this, which is both wow, all right, 4 days ago, and we're only 4 days into this, huh? But that's where we are. We're 4 days out. It's going well so far, so good. Got out in 2 days as expected. What was what's most interesting to me about this, Amy, and this was true when I had my left ankle fused 2 years ago, which has gone really well, which is what inspired me to have this other ankle done now.
And we should mention this is the right ankle fusion as well.
A right ankle
Correct?
fusion. Correct.
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 Okay.
What was also funny, as though I was in the television version of my life, at BDC, without trying, I must have been in at least a half a dozen conversations about ankle fusions and replacements. And I talked to everybody. I've got one fused, thinking about the other one. I've got one
Yeah.
fused and one replaced. I've got both fused. I've got both replaced. I'm thinking about both. I talked to everybody,
Wow.
which on one hand is good, right? Like gathering input is part of a decision-making process. But I was definitely farther along in my process at that point. So it was like, this is helpful, but part of me is now recycling ideas and thoughts that I already have processed about, like, wait, should I be looking at something else? Wait, should I be waiting longer? Wait, should I be? So there was a little bit of that coming up on surgery. If it's an emergency surgery, you got to get it, period. If it's an elective surgery, there's maybe always a part of oneself that could be like, but is this really the right time? Do you really need to do this? And I felt that inflamed a little bit for me, but I did go through that, my second ankle fusion. But the thing I'll say, because I'll show you in real time, Amy, I've got this lovely little, IV access in my hand here, still from the hospital.
Would you call that a PICC line?
I think technically a PICC line, I was actually Googling this
here,
earlier.
Right?
Yeah, and it's got to be like longer and more centrally connected. But I was on Google earlier, Amy, because I was like, is this a PICC line or not? I actually don't know the feel like I should know the answer to that, but I don't.
I feel like I should too. What are you going to do?
So here we are. It's okay not to know things, audience. That's the point. It's okay not to know things. But I do know that this is in my hand because the biggest thing right now, like my pain has come down a lot. Happy about that. Made the lifestyle and work adjustments I need to do what I got to do. Fine. I have to be infusing so much factor, as somebody who's been on a non-factor for prophylaxis for the last 5 years, now being on factor daily, twice a day, these last few days for 10 days, I'm like, this is a lot of factor. So, they give you these PICC lines or IV access lines or whatever the heck we're supposed to call them, Bordeaux, when you're in the hospital. This one was in so well. I talked to my doctor, Dr. Kwan, on the phone and was like, when they leave me, let me out of here, can I just keep this? Because I have so many infusions coming up and this is in well, and I don't want to stick myself this many times. And she was like, that makes a lot of sense. Yep, you should do that. I was like, okay. So I'm just going to coast with this guy. I got my saline solution.
Oh my gosh.
I'm rocking this hand access thing as long as I can. And then eventually that'll come out and the factor will slow down and I'll still only have 11 weeks to go.
Holy smokes. Are you a little nervous? Like maybe your skills are like not as sharp, but shang.
Are you a writer?
Or what? Or a comedian?
Are you a writer or a comedian? Yes, I am a little worried about that because when I've had like breakthrough bleeds in the last few years, I have had more trouble than I'd care to admit accessing a vein. And I think part of it is out of practice and not being as used to my body at its size and how easy or difficult it is to find veins at this time for me. So this is definitely solving a short-term issue of, hey, you got to factor up every 12 hours for a bunch of days in a row. Good news. You've got a port. But this will go, and I'll have to probably finish off the end of this, peripherally sticking like an old school hemo might. And that's just fine, but it went well. I'm glad I got it done. I'm not thrilled about how long it takes to, get back to weight bearing and get back to full usage, but that part is what it is. I'm not going to complain about that too much.
You had an experience with the first ankle that blew my mind. I remember you were like, the pain of post-surgery was so much less than what you had experienced on the ankle just in general. Like it was such a significant decrease, which is it was just such a crazy thing. Is it the same with this one? How is this one? Because this one is different. It's a different beast.
It is different. Not quite the same. You know, I
Uh,
wasn't at the same level of 5 alarm fire with the right ankle as I was with the left. It was more like a 3 3/4 alarm fire.
right.
So the disparity isn't as noticeable. But I will say, I mean, yeah, 2 days out from surgery, I stopped taking prescription pain medication. I'm taking a little bit of ibuprofen
It's great.
now. And I did have a moment, even though I'm still in post surgery like discomfort and a little bit of pain, I did have a moment for the first time on Sunday where I, I tapped into the part of my ankle that wasn't in any pain and was like, oh, there it is. There's that relief to what to what you're
Mm,
speaking of. It was like part of me
mhm.
was able to get in touch with what's hurting you right now isn't what you're used to hurting you. What you're used to hurting you isn't hurting you at all. And I could really feel that a couple of days ago. So that gave me a nice window into where I hope this is all headed.
Yeah. Well, I know you're in pain, but and it's going to be a long recovery road, but why don't you, to wrap this up, why don't you tell listeners what was gifted to you right before we started recording so people can feel really bad for you?
I am going to wrap this up, and I promise we're not going to talk about this every episode. But Amy is right to point out that when you get ill and your mom flies 2,700 miles to come be with you for 10 days and help take care of your family, occasionally she also just brings you unexpected cookies because it doesn't matter if you're a 40-year-old,
Yeah.
you'll always be
Yeah.
11.
100%.
Also, I think I may have talked about this on the podcast before. I know I've mentioned this in talks. When I was at the height of my hemo troubles, speaking of 11, 12, 13, inhibitor years, missing a lot of
Inhibitor.
middle school, yeah, bad
Yeah.
times, I was often like a cornerstone of my middle school experience, more than like shop class or
Yeah.
PE or like a girl named Danielle who wouldn't return my, it doesn't matter. We don't have to talk about that. More than any of that was The Price is Right with Bob Barker, because I would either be home from school or would
Yeah.
have come home from school 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or whatever the heck time it was, and I watched so much Bob Barker and The Price is Right. And wouldn't you know it, Amy Board, yesterday I get myself together, I scoot down the stairs on my butt, got my crutches,
Yeah.
and what does
Yeah.
my mom have on the TV that she barely knows how
No.
to operate in my house?
No.
Price is Right, the Bob Barker era. It's a marathon. We watched, I can't tell you how many hours because that's a confession I'm not willing to make, but it was a lot. It was a lot of Price is Right yesterday. I can tell you so much about the Showcase Showdown, about the game
Okay.
formats.
Okay.
I know the best place to drop the little things in Plinko. So
Okay.
cookies and
Huge for
Price
you.
is Right. This is what my mother has delivered.
And you name dropped Danielle. Shocked that you name dropped Danielle.
Danielle, we won't talk about it. We never
won't
did.
talk about it.
We never
We're
will.
just not going to talk about it. We're just never going to talk about it.
Unrequited love is a part of everyone's history.
It is. It is. It is. It's a part of growing up. Middle school.
Well, so that's the surgery update. Thanks for asking. I promise I'm not going to make this the one topic show for the next 5 months, but yeah, 4 days out. It's kind of fresh. Has something to do with why I'm home.
It's totally fresh, and it's every you were talking about it in the beginning when you were at BDC. It seems like so many of our community has stories, thinking about it. You know, it's in the back of their mind. It's such a huge topic. So thank you for sharing your tale, and I'm excited for you.
Thank you, friend. Yeah,
I
and
know,
if there's anything
it's
interesting,
a long road, but I'm excited for you post journey because I think it'll give you a lot of freedom. I'm really excited about it.
Try to remind myself that quote of like, people overestimate how much you can accomplish in a day, a week, or a month, but underestimate how much you can accomplish in a month, a year, a lifetime. It's like,
yeah,
I'm definitely guilty of that. So trying to keep the long perspective in mind. But anyway, let's move on to the next segment, a segment that is brought to you by Genentech. There is a new short film that's out there dedicated to moms who care for their sons with hemophilia A, just like mine, who brings me cookies. It's an honest and visually striking journey about a mother going through the emotional whirlwind of raising a son with hemophilia A. She's at a different point than my mother, who's come to accept it. Now my mom's at the cookie
Right.
giving part of the
Right.
caregiver experience, but the
Same
film,
zone.
yeah, same, but different.
Same.
This story is inspired by thousands of real moms and serves as a thank you for all that they do to make the hemophilia A caregiver community a place of love and resilience. Visit www.hemashort.com to watch the short film. We'll also have a link in the program notes. Again, that's hemashort.com to watch the film. And now, on to the interview with Ed. Hey, listeners, before we get to Ed, I want to recognize that my audio quality is not of the standard that I would like it to be. Had some technical issues during the interview. I hope it doesn't take away from the great contributions from Ed Rogoff. All right. Well, I'm joined now by Ed Rogoff. We've actually kind of known each other for a long time, but we've never had an intimate moment to actually discuss something like this with each other. So Ed is the author of a book called Scary Diagnosis. He's a longtime community member and advocate. He joins me today here on BloodStream. Ed, thanks for joining me. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
So give us the back of your baseball card. I mentioned you're a longtime advocate in the space, but who are you?
Yeah, who am I? So I've been active in the hemophilia community. So starting with being born with hemophilia, and I joined the Hemophilia Association of New York board really now decades ago, around 1980, and then I became president, and I was president during the worst period of HIV affecting our community. I was president of the board for many years. Now I'm still on the board. And also we started a Hemophilia Services Consortium, which has been a big deal for us. This purchases clotting factor, distributes clotting factor at a lower price than most people would have to pay or their insurance would have to pay. And it also supports the treatment centers, at least partially, at the main hospitals in New York. So, I've been active in this community for a long time. And, the rest of the time, I'm a professor of entrepreneurship. I was at Baruch College, which is the business school of the City University, for more than 20 years. And then I went to Long Island University, Brooklyn, where they wanted to start a business school focused on entrepreneurship until they didn't. And I stayed there. I'm still there as a faculty member, but I also teach at NYU social entrepreneurship at the Wagner School, which is a fantastic place. And I've written books about entrepreneurship and nonprofits, but I've wanted to do this for a long time. So, being a member of this community, being someone who's had many experiences with the healthcare system and interacting with many community members who have dealt with the healthcare system and the many complications, I felt there was a need for a book like this. And over the last 5 or 6 years, I worked on it and did it.
Wow. Well, I also just learned that I should have been talking to Ed for a couple of decades as far as entrepreneurship goes. So I've already learned quite a lot from our first 3 minutes together here. But
good.
I want to focus on the book because there's a few things about it that really deeply resonate with me. One of the things is the way that you challenge how we talk about resilience, especially in communities where living with a chronic condition is the norm. Can you share when you first began to see resilience, not just as a strength, but also as something that can hold us back?
Yeah. So, I'll tell you, I think people need to learn, and they need to learn that they have agency in this process. People feel powerless. Their families feel powerless. They get a diagnosis. Now, I talk about hemophilia, but there are also 8 other cases I talk about in the book not dealing with hemophilia. But people deal with something like this. It scares them. They feel powerless. They, rely on what a doctor says without any challenge, without any other research, without speaking to other people. And I really feel that if they explore their community, if they explore the options that are available to them, and they discover that there are options, that they will find a resilience in themselves to cope with these issues. The book is, in a sense, it's optimistic. This is not about people getting the diagnoses with terrible diseases and life is over and they give up everything that's important to them. It's quite the contrary. I've seen so many people who have dealt with terrible things that seem like they should stop them, and they don't. They find this resilience in themselves. They find this agency. They learn how to be serious, kind of professional advocates for themselves. And one of the messages of the book, Patrick, is that you can't do this alone. This is a team effort. You need to build a team around you, and people who think that they're going to crawl into their hole, they're not going to deal with any of this stuff, and they'll get through it somehow. That does not work. You need to build a team who supports you, who does things that you can't do, who can go to appointments with you, who can help do the research that maybe you don't want to do or you're afraid to do. So, the book talks about, issues like that. It talks about, you got to find the right doctor. In today's world where many doctors are told, you have 6 minutes to process each patient on your schedule today. Okay, maybe you work at a high touch hospital where they give you 10 or 12 minutes. This is not enough. And so you need to find other sources of information and support. You need to find doctors who will give you the time, who will get to know you as an individual, who will learn about you over time. So anyway, that's what the book is about. And I've gotten a good reaction from, people and healthcare providers about it. It is also meant to be guidance for healthcare providers about how they have to deal with patients, what patients should expect, will expect, and they need to give them.
Something you bring up in the book related to this resilient characteristic is this sense of, oh, I'm fine. And we talk about this on the podcast quite a bit. We have a segment titled I'm Fine.
Yeah.
That's about challenging our sense of satisfaction.
Sure.
And I know from my personal experience, this I'm fine mindset has acted as both a survival mechanism, but also a shield for better and for worse.
Yeah.
How do we start lowering that shield? You just mentioned letting other people in. We can't do this alone. And that resonates. But again, I'll just speak personally.
Yeah.
I can be slow to want to lower that shield and let people in or explore other options. What do you say to somebody like me?
Everybody is, everybody does that. Look, denial, what would we do without it? It's how we cope with things day to day. And it's difficult to come to terms. Somebody says, look, you have cancer, you have diabetes, you have some kind of serious issue, but you feel okay. So I'm fine. And I get it. The book talks about this issue with denial, how it's an absolutely common response, and how it takes courage to look past it and to recognize it for what it is. And it interferes with you getting good care. We all follow similar patterns, and that's one of the major patterns, is to just pretend like, hey, this is not really a problem. I'm fine. I'll deal with it later. The doctor's exaggerating all this. And the truth is, the longer you wait, most things get worse. So really, it's incumbent on you, if you care about your care and you want to make the outcome as good as possible, to deal with it as soon as possible, not as late as possible.
Related to this, Ed, and we're talking to Ed Rogoff, the author of Scary Diagnosis. There's links in the program notes to find the book. You also talk about the disability paradox, which is another concept that resonates with me and feels quite related to this I'm fine mindset. Where do you think that paradox comes from?
What do you mean by the paradox? Explaining what you're thinking.
That people with chronic conditions and diseases will often report higher satisfaction outcomes than peers in the general population.
People want to believe that whatever medical condition they have to deal with, that it doesn't slow them up. I mean, I think this is just a part of denial. I'll tell you, Patrick, a story. It always sticks in my mind. Some years ago, I met a new family, members for the Hemophilia Association, and they had a son who had recently been born, diagnosed with hemophilia, and the father was just distraught. I mean, just taken apart by this. And I said to him, look, people cope with it. I said, look, I'm an adult. I went through all this. maybe I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty much in one piece. And I said, you'll get through this and all this. Anyway, I got him to talk a little bit, and I'll tell you what his issue was. He had a dream. He had played soccer hockey in college, ice hockey in college, and it was a high point of his life. And he wanted his son. He had this dream that he would have a son, and his son would play ice hockey too. And now he gets a son with hemophilia. Ice hockey and hemophilia, not a good match. And so he was just distraught over this. And I'm thinking, like, of all the things to worry about, whether this son in 20 years is going to play ice hockey in college, so people have issues. They see these health diagnoses as interfering with their lives in various ways. Now I stayed in touch with this family. They remained, active in the association. The kid is grown. He went to college. He's very accomplished in a lot of fields. He never played ice hockey. Life went on. I don't know if that addresses your point, but people have different reactions to all of this, and one of them is how it's going to interfere with their lives. It does interfere with your life. It becomes a priority to deal with it, and you have to have the courage to tackle it. The good news is most of these things have happy outcomes, and we live in a world where medicine has improved greatly, not just for hemophilia, but for many diseases, for many cancer outcomes. And so, deal with it quickly, deal with it in the right place, get the right doctor, have a team around you, and you have a very good expectation of a good outcome.
You just mentioned cancer outcomes and previously had referenced other communities outside of hemophilia that you spoke to people from for the book. What are some of the other communities that you tapped into? And were there any overarching themes outside of that, which we've already discussed, that are worth highlighting?
There's a big issue with injured veterans. And so I connected with some veterans organizations, and I spoke to, a number of people. And, look, these are young guys who get terrible injuries that they have a very long recovery from, maybe never fully recover from. And it so much cuts against who they thought they were prior to their trauma. Government always says, oh, we don't do enough for, these people. You can never quite do enough for them. But I was amazed at the ones who find the courage. It takes them time to find the courage to come to accept their new lives, accept their limitations, almost use it as a tool, as many people in the hemophilia community do, as a way to help others. So they're more advanced in the process of recovery and of going through physical therapy and of dealing with many issues. And then they take this on as a positive, as a way I can help. This has given me the power and experience to help others. I'm sort of like that. I've been at this from 73 years old. I've been at this for a long time. And so my experience is something that I can share with others that hopefully helps them. I'd say, that was one group. And then the other group that's very powerful are people who have had sick children, like NICU sick children. And, this is, from a parent's point of view, this is as bad as it gets. And how, they have the expectation they're going to have a beautiful, happy baby, and all of a sudden they have a baby that's in a NICU for months. And sometimes these babies never come home, and they have to deal with that. So anyway, I interviewed a number of these people, and then you see that they find the courage. They never let go of that baby, but they find the courage to have another child, to go on, to continue to build their dream of having a family continues. It's amazing. Absolutely. So people by and large, that I interviewed were more impressive than not,
Right.
in dealing with these things.
Was there a particular story or person you spoke to who shifted your perspective or informed a portion of the book in a particularly outstanding way?
Maybe this veteran whose story I detail, I mean, this guy really had a rough ride. And that I'd say he really is an incredible story. I'd say there's one other story. It's not exactly related to having a scary diagnosis. It's sort of a related, but this is a guy who got, he had an issue. It's not that important what it was. Anyway, he went through this journey on getting health insurance. And anyway, in the course of a couple of years, he had 8 different insurance companies or providers. You think there's some point at which you say dealing with the bureaucracy is just too much. I can't deal with this. I have a health issue. I'll find some doctor who will take some money from me and they'll just leave it at that. Anyway, this guy kept at it and at it. He went through all these insurance systems. He's like a lesson for all of us in dealing with the crazy insurance system. And, he ended up on Medicaid, which he says after a couple of years of going through 7 other systems, this was the best care he ever received. It was the best system he interacted with. I'd say that I did not expect to hear that from him. And today, when we look at a world where millions of people who have Medicaid and by and large are happy with it are going to lose their insurance, you go, oh my God. And they're all going to go back to something. They're going to get care some way. Terrible. So I think that makes me, concerned for the world. And it makes me certainly hyper concerned for these people who are going to lose their policies. But anyway, yeah, he was such an interesting story.
Right.
And to me, instructive because I've personally never really struggled with insurance.
Scary Diagnosis, again, is the name of Ed's book. You can find links in the program notes for that. I want to ask you one more question, Ed, and I'll start it, though, with, I guess, a thank you, because you've been involved, as you mentioned, with the Hemophilia Association of New York for a long time. Hanny has been a big supporter of mine, starting with when I went to college. I was only able to go to private college to study storytelling and theater and acting as a kid who wanted to play sports. So I definitely, that story of the hockey guy resonates. But then I found the arts, I found storytelling, and I found something that I had skill for and interest in. And were it not for the scholarships and grants that I put together, including a scholarship from Hanny, I wouldn't have been able to go. So I want to say thank you. And
that's great.
The question I have on the heels of that is Hanny today. I know this year marks the 75th anniversary. You just outlined some of the current national challenges that we're facing as far as our healthcare system goes. What's top of mind for you as you think about the work of Hanny today in its 75th year of operation?
I think this issue of insurance is the absolute number one issue, should be on everyone's agenda. Hanny's been a very stable organization. We've gotten, great support from donors. This service consortium produces a grant to us, which pays for, 30-40% of the organization's budget. So, it's a very stable organization. We've had, fantastic leadership as in the executive director positions for many years. So Hanny continues to take care of the population. So, you talked about people who get a diagnosis of hemophilia, they need people to speak to. Well, they got people in our office. They've got our board members. We run events for, women with bleeding disorders, for, young boys with bleeding disorders. So we, try to provide all of those services, and I think we do. And I think this is incredibly rewarding for everybody who's been involved in the organization. But, today's issues are different, and we need to focus on them. HFA has been a leader in this. And I think anybody who's deals with this system, particularly if you have a chronic or serious illness, this has got to be top of mind.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that, and I agree. Well, again, Ed's book is Scary Diagnosis. Links in the program notes. Ed, thanks for coming on. I loved this conversation, and I'm sorry it took us so long. We've known each other for so long,
Yeah,
but I have
yeah.
to give a shout out.
Fantastic. Yeah, no,
Dan
fantastic.
Kelsey.
Yeah, congratulations to you on all the, work that you've done and you still do. And, thank you for, having me on and, introducing the book to your audience. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. I look forward to completing it. And thank you to Dan Kelsey for putting us together. Thanks,
All
Ed.
right. Terrific. Okay.
Thank you, PJL. What a great, sweet interview with sweet blood brother Ed. And again, best book. I like gasped. Scary diagnosis.
You did. A literal gasp. I don't know if Ed will have had any better response to the title than yours.
I don't know. It was insane. It was totally insane. We have we might have like the best segment of all time coming up, which was totally randomly prompted by you, by the way. It was a Facebook thing. It's always a Facebook thing with you. I'm not going to lie.
No, that's did I just catch a stray? What happened? Ow.
Yeah, that was way more brutal than it needed to be. I'm sorry.
Anyway, I don't know. It bubbled up because I was posting something or talking about tattoos, and people were posting about tattoos, and then we were like, we should wrap our arms around this in some way and see if there's something we can do for the podcast. And now we're here.
Let me tell you something. So we put out like a call to have listeners and community members, share like, hey, what's your tattoo situation? Do you have tattoos? Do you have community-based tattoos? Blood brother tattoos? You have, was it a pain in the butt to get your tattoo? Because, hemophilia, it's like a whole thing. And holy smokes, did the community show up. We had so many submissions. It's a hoot and a holler in here.
It really is. And Amy, while you're pulling some of those up to kind of go over for a second, I will just highlight, not a doctor, speak to your healthcare professional, but in general, if you're a person with a bleeding disorder and you are curious, can I get a tattoo? The answer, most overwhelmingly likely, is yes. The things to be mindful of are general tattoo cleanliness and credibility. You want to make sure you're going to a clean place with a good reputation that's using clean needles and clean supplies. That's just anybody with a tattoo, regardless of a bleeding disorder. And then there's a couple extra things. You may need to infuse beforehand. You may need to infuse after, depending on how involved your tattoo is. I've had some tattoos that have taken 20 minutes in the chair, and I've had some that have been, a few hours that have involved a little bit more external bleeding. I never had an issue with any of my 8 or 9 that I have. Loads of people who have them. So just in general, if you have anxiety about it, there's resources on NBDF's website, HFA's website, Google tattoos, hemophilia. Can I ask ChatGPT? The chat will probably tell you something. The answer in general is that you can. You just want to make sure to do your due diligence on the tattoo artist shop. And of course, talk to your treatment center or your hematologist about any heme or VW or factor deficient related protocols that you should be aware of. So Amy wanted to sneak that little bit of education in there.
No, that's wonderful. And I mean, just like if you were playing a sport, if you're thinking about going out for soccer and the things and you like, how should I update my treatment plan? Same thing. Just like get your feet under you, figure out what you need to do. And it's a whole thing. We had a couple people actually write in and say that they have tattoos from their summer camp. We
I
dig. One listener that has the Camp High Hopes camp logo tattoo. He went there as a kid, became a counselor, and then he took over as the director of the camp.
Love that. Love that. I got some inner family tattoos. We got one from Vanessa here, or she doesn't have it yet, but she's thinking about getting one in honor of her brother, who recently accomplished something huge. And we're going to talk about it on BloodStream very soon. Teaser for a future episode. We've got Charity and her son, Michael, have matching hemophilia factor 8 tattoos, which I thought was pretty cool. Some mother-son connection through ink.
We have William, who's a 9 severe, and he's thinking about getting a 9 in Roman numerals pushing through his skin with blood dripping down from it.
I mean, what's stopping you is my question.
What a baller tattoo. We had a couple of folks send us pictures even. One in her wedding dress. It's gorgeous.
Right? With that beautiful, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's a logo for the Washington, D.C. chapter, but it's like his beautiful blood drop.
It is a beautiful blood drop. And it looks very elegant, to use a word that we were using earlier quite a bit. Very elegant.
We love it.
And then there's one email here that we received, Amy, that I want to read from a blood brother named Scott. And he was actually pinged by fellow blood brother Luke Pembroke when we were posting about this to get involved. And he sent us the following. Hey, guys, I'm loving the spotlight on bleeders getting tattoos, something I've been doing for the last 16 years. My hemophilia-related tattoo is my logo for Unclottable, a social media presence I created when I was 26 to share my experience growing up in the UK with a bleeding disorder and to meet others who understand. This venture led me to working for the UK Hemophilia Society, meeting some amazing people, and traveling the world. This next part I think is pretty crucial. My tattoos have given me a sense of control over my bleeding disorder. It was the first thing I've done that I was told I couldn't. That only led me to find more things that I actually could do, provided I treated correctly. Providing I treated correctly? Anyway, you can do the grammar on your own time. I went from someone who suffered from hemophilia to someone living with hemophilia. I hope you like the photos. I have many more than this email will allow me to share. Many thanks, Scott. So we'll make sure that you can see Scott's Unclottable tattoo in the footage as well.
And they're also awesome.
Yeah, these are no joke tattoos.
They're no joke. They're gorgeous. The shading is just gorgeous. Oh, there's this Unclottable. Oh, great.
Right. Plus some really good Nightmare Before Christmas, which Vivian would be super into. She loves Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. Top 5 character in her life right now.
It's a new thing.
It's like Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, Bambi, Bambi's mom, and then like 2 ringer characters. Like we start with those 3: Sally the Ragdoll from Nightmare Before Christmas, Bambi's ill-fated mother, and then 2 like wild card characters that she throws into her imaginative play every day. This is every day.
Bambi's mother is such a distinct pull. I know we're talking about tattoos, but now I have to out my brother. So in Bambi, like one of the things that the Bambi's mom says is like, I don't know, they're running for something, and she goes, "Run for the thicket." Do you remember that?
I do. I'm in I'm in the Bambi world.
Apparently when my brother was teeny, like littler than Vivian, like 3 or something, my mom and him were running out from a store to the car, and it was pouring rain, and I guess my baby sweet little brother just was unprompted, "Run for the thicket." Like, I can't believe I'm telling that story, but it's just like etched in my family's legacy. Like that, I can't believe Bambi's lived on.
Bambi's, oh my goodness. This summer, we were at an antique store and we found like the OG book of Bambi that we were like, great, we'll do this for nighttime reading. Let me tell you something. That is not a book for kids. That book describes in detail the death and destruction of various animals and plant life. That book is brutal. Just because a little like magpie comes by in the beginning and has a monologue, don't let it fool you. Bambi is brutal. Adults only.
Brutal.
Bambi.
Brutal. Incredible. It's...
I would say this segment's gone well.
It's really... This whole episode has just been really...
elegant.
Laser focused.
Couldn't agree more. Well, thank you to everybody who participated in our little tattoo fun. We're going to create some social media from it. So if you're following already, keep an eye out. If you're not, check out BloodStream Media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You'll be seeing some of the tattoo submissions and comments coming through in the not too distant future. And with that, I'm going to ask the question I got to ask you each time, Amy Board. Our next episode comes out on September 19th. What can listeners expect to hear then?
Holy smokes. We have one of my favorite interviews that I was looking forward to participating this year that I missed because I was in therapy.
I was wondering if we were going to address that. So thank you for bringing it up.
No worries. Like, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm not on every interview. I'm really not. But this one, I was like, I can't wait to hear what these folks say. And I missed it. So it's going to be great. We have Jess Swan and Dr. Ben Kim from Star Therapeutics going to talk about their new Von Willebrand pipeline their philosophy as a company and kind of entering into the new treatment era for von Willebrand's disease. So excited. And I, just like every listener, will be waiting with bated breath to listen to it.
Well, you described it well for someone who wasn't there. So well done. Well done on that front. I do also need to thank Ed Rogoff for joining the program today. Of course, thanks to our presenting sponsor, Takeda, bleedingdisorders.com for more. And thanks to Genentech. Visit hemeashort.com to watch that short film on hemophilia A caregivers. We could not produce this show without your support, and we are grateful for it. With that, that is all for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the BloodStream podcast wherever you listen to have the next episode delivered to you the moment it goes live.
And as always, listeners, you can email us at mailbag@bloodstreammedia.com to inquire about BloodStream Media or Believe Limited casting opportunities. You can always find me and PJL on social media, and as well, the show, BloodStream Media. We're everywhere, all the things. Please DM us if you have any questions or comments or just want to tell us your story.
I am your host, Patrick James Lynch.
And I am your other host, Amy Board.
And until next time, take self-care of yourself. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.